Thank you very much. My name is John Rocha. And I graduated from Notre Dame in 2011. I was a poli-sci major. And so I'm here today to talk a little bit about how I started my company called myFit. And then hopefully give you sort of a framework or sort of an intro of how you can maybe start your company right now while you're still a student. So just by show of hands, who here is an undergraduate student right now? Okay, good. Are any of you guys hopefully considering entrepreneurship? Show of hands. Does anybody have an idea that they're thinking about or playing around with? I'm not going to ask what it is, don't worry, but some of you guys are. Okay, cool. So hopefully after this talk, you guys might have some good ideas of how to move forward with that. And so my talk was really meant to answer this question. How can you start your own tech company in the basement of the Hesburgh Library? And the reason why I said the Hesburgh Library is because that's what we did. We graduated, and my co-founder and I spent 2.5 months literally in the basement of the library trying to figure out how to start our own company and then go from there. Since then, we created our company called myFit. My background, I was a poli-sci major, minor in peace studies, so far from a business degree. I was non-technical, I'm not a software engineer or anything like that, but I always had a passion for entrepreneurship. I would always catch myself in job interviews, always saying one day I'd love to start my own company. And depending on how the job interview went, usually that'd be a lot sooner than I would hope. So from there, I always had a passion for entrepreneurship. I worked at the Go Center and was part of the Entrepreneurship Society, which is a great club on campus. You all should check it out. So that's sort of my background, but more importantly, it's that I was non-business, non-technical, and I was still able to create something that's been competitive in Silicon Valley. So what is myFit? It all started my junior year while I was a junior in living in O'Neill Hall. And so I'd buy all my clothing online because it was a lot cheaper and a lot easier to get and just be shipped to my dorm room. Does it sound really loud by chance? Or is it just me? Sounds good? Okay. So I buy all my clothing online, shipped to my dorm room, but nothing would ever fit. And that really bothered me. So I'd be returning all these garments that I buy online. And it got to be a huge pain. And so I thought there's got to be a better way. Let's try to make something that can help remedy this problem. So that thing is myFit. So what we do is we create software that helps you try and close virtually. So I'll show you a quick example of what I'm talking about. This is a project or one of our clients, Sustaining You, that we're working with. You click that myFit logo, you select a body model that's similar to your body shape. In this case, you select your waist, and then you can try clothing on virtually. You can select between different sizes and colors and get a really good sense of how it fit on your body. One of the things that we'll be doing shortly is allow new scanning technologies to be used, even just your camera phone potentially, and then you would actually see yourself in the system trying on your clothing virtually. To save some time, I'll fast forward just a little bit. So you can go in between different sizes and see a pretty good idea of how it might fit. And then we have this tension map that even further illustrates how clothing might fit. Tight areas are indicated by red, and loose areas are indicated by blue. And the whole idea is supposed to be this really fun, exciting way to try clothing online quickly, and then click that buy button and move on. And that way you're not stuck like I was my junior year in O'Neill Hall, buying clothes that never fit me well. So that's sort of myFit in a nutshell. We started about 2 years ago. We built our team together. We were in a McCloskey competition last year. We were finalists and have since moved to Silicon Valley and have been expanding from there. So I'll be using myFit as sort of just a contextual reference point. So here's sort of a framework I put together, and it's meant to be really simple and clear. Hopefully you can remember some of it and apply to whatever project you're considering. And so the first thing that most entrepreneurs say, or people that want to be entrepreneurs say, is that I would love to start my own company, but I wish I just had that great idea. I wish I had a really killer idea. And that happens all the time, and I was certainly one of those people. And so I put together a few tools that I think help me, and might help you, that are really simple to help you maybe come up with that idea, that sort of thought exercise that might trigger that reaction. So the first thing is that coming up with an idea for a business is really an exercise. It's not really something that just comes to you. It's something you work at over time. And so the first advice I have is to write everything down. So what I would always do is I had a little notepad next to my bed, and so I'd always jot down a few notes every night about things that bother me and things that I think I could improve starting a business. So write everything down. The next thing is that nothing is ever too dumb when you're first stage of writing down just basic ideas. Who would have thought that 140 characters would end up being as big as it is today? It might not have seemed so smart at the time. So you never know when that idea might transform into something huge later on. The first of two tools in figuring out a good idea to work on is sort of what bothers you. So for me, obviously with myFit, it really bothered me that I buy clothing online that doesn't fit. And that really bothered me, and I want to do something about that. So that's a really easy way to figure out some cool ideas to get your own for entrepreneurship. The other tool that might help is you might have some sort of insider experience that might lend you towards a certain idea. So, for example, 1997, a guy named Kevin Plank was playing football at the University of Maryland. He would wear his t-shirts underneath his football garments, and it didn't really work so well. He was very hot, he was sweaty, it was a really awful experience. And his experience or insight as a football player knew that he needed to make some sort of clothing that's a lot better, a lot more breathable. And a couple years later, you have Under Armour, some multi-billion-dollar business. So unique insight and experience might help you get that really cool idea. So now you have this idea, and you're not so sure about it. You think it might be okay, it's in that big laundry list of other ideas that you have. And so what do you do next? And so I recommend two basic things. The first one is just do some basic research on your idea. And this is stuff you can literally do on Google or here at the BIC, the Business Information Center. That's what we did. And you find out some basic things. The first thing is how big is this market? So for the clothing industry, it's a huge $250 billion market. Okay, well what are some key stats? Well, of this big market, only 10% of clothes are sold online. And return rates are over 40%. So those are some really key stats that for us, we thought, hey, we should probably pursue myFit. And the last one is, who else is doing something similar in this space? Who are your competitors, and how do you think you can edge them out? So this is something you can do very quickly when you just had this idea. The next thing is you have to get feedback. And I feel really strongly about this. And it's really easy to say, go and get feedback, but it's much harder to actually go and do it. And there's two reasons why I think feedback can be so tricky. The first one is it's so difficult to put yourself on the line, talk to your friends and family, and say, hey, listen to this new idea I'm working on. What do you think? And often they're going to say it sucks, or it's a bad idea. And that's a hard thing to listen to. It's hard to take harsh criticism like that. So be prepared for that, but it's so worth it. The second thing, and I was guilty of this too, was that I was perpetually scared that someone was going to steal my billion-dollar idea, or at least I thought at the time. Right when I was thinking of myFit, The Social Network came out, so it was a movie about Facebook, in which I was convinced that at any given moment I wake up the next day and somebody will have done what I did, or was trying to do, and be the next great company. That could have been me, and I would be all sad or whatever. What I've come to realize is that really companies are more likely, much more likely to fail because they built things that their customers didn't want, much more so than somebody just stole their idea. There's so much more that goes into taking the idea into a company than it is just the idea itself. And then, of course, there are some legal things that you need to protect yourself. Feel free to grab me after, I'll tell you about that, provisional patents and things like that. So I think you can pretty much do both. You can be covered legally and also get feedback. So you want to get that feedback. It's really important. Okay, so now you got your idea. What do you do next? The next thing I would say is get educated. And there's two main points to get educated on, I think. The first one is your industry. So whatever your solution you're thinking of, learn everything about it. You gotta just eat, sleep, and breathe it. So for me, that meant I had to learn how the fashion design, how the whole fashion industry worked, from manufacturing to their e-commerce platform, everything in between. And it's a really tedious process, but you have to learn everything about the industry that you're working on. And then the second part is just general entrepreneurship, I think is very helpful to learn. And so I have three sort of key points that from there. The first two are two books that I think everyone should read. Blaze, I made you read them as soon as you helped us out in myFit. And I think they help a lot. The first one's Art to Start, the second one's Lean Startup. Both give just a wonderful introduction to what you should be doing for your tech startup. The last thing you should be considering is you should join the entrepreneurship community. So every day, across the country, there are events just like this in every major city, even South Bend, Chicago, New York, and Silicon Valley, in which there are entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs getting together. There might be a speaker or a networking event or whatever, and your knowledge is going to be much broader by attending these types of events. And perhaps more importantly, you might meet your next co-founder, your next investor. So you just never know, and I really encourage you to check out a lot of these entrepreneurial events going on almost every day. So get educated. The next one's your mentors. So right now, you are a completely inexperienced entrepreneur, and that's not a horrible thing. Think about it. You're extremely young. Compared to your older competition, you can work 18 hours a day. You can sleep on your friend's couch. You can eat ramen noodles for months at a time. And these are all pretty helpful things that can edge out your competition. But what you still have those life experience, and the best way to overcome that is to have a series of mentors that really make up for your life experience. So who are these mentors going to be? How can I find them? This is very straightforward. Professors, alums, family, and friends. You talk to these people and you say, hey, listen, I'm considering an idea. You are a successful entrepreneur. Can you give me some guidance? And more often than not, the more successful these people are, usually the more willing they are to help you because they see themselves in you. So find your mentors, and eventually you might have them go into your board of advisors, which is just a fancy term for people that you call upon maybe monthly or so to ask various questions about your startup in about an hour-long conversation or so. So get your mentors. And then finally, and perhaps most important, is you got to build your team. And that's a very vital piece of this puzzle. You really, I don't advise to do this alone. You need to find other people to do it with you. So you have to find your co-founders. And so the rule of thumb is typically you find folks with complementary skills. In Silicon Valley particularly, you're going to have two types of folks. You're going to have your hustler and your coder. Your hustler is going to be your business development guy. It's the guy that drinks Red Bull all day long and walks around and evangelizes your product, talks to investors, networks like crazy, creates your business plan, public speaks, and so on. Your other is going to be your coder, your software engineer, in this particular case for a tech company. And so this would be somebody maybe with a computer science degree from the engineering school, maybe had an internship at a major tech company. So really this sort of yin and yang relationship is so vital in this early stage of a startup. And so I really encourage you, if you are considering tech entrepreneurship, to seek out sort of your this particular marriage. And so you might think, well, where can I possibly find my soulmate, my entrepreneurial soulmate? And it's pretty simple. There's a couple ways to find that person. The first one, the easiest one, you start right here at Notre Dame. And I really, really strongly believe in that. So what does that mean? That means that if you are a student here at Mendoza or at the Arts and Letters or anywhere else like that, you are going to your complementary school, so you are going to be then going to the engineering school. And you're going to talk to students and say, hey, I'm working on this project. Who is interested in it? Do you think it's possible? And so on. And likewise for engineering students. Talk to business students. How can I monetize this? How can I grow this into a really cool company? And so with myFit, what I literally did was I walked around O'Neill, asked my AR and said, who are the best engineers here at O'Neill Hall? And I got a few names, and I literally just banged down their door and then went in and talked to them about myFit. And I said, hey, here's a really cool idea. What do you think? Is it possible? And you'll be really surprised the response you get. And so if that doesn't work for you, although I doubt it wouldn't work for you, you can of course recruit from other schools. So what does that mean? And sticking with the whole vibe of being in the basement of Mendoza, or of the library, you can do this all remotely. That means you simply just do job postings at the top 25 programs of your choice. That's what we did with computer science programs. And we just bombarded the CS programs with different job postings and career fair information and things like that. And did all of our interviews through Skype. In the basement of the library, we had over 100 Skype interviews during that 2-month span to find what ended up being our ideal engineer, which was a Johns Hopkins PhD student that just finished up, who was one of the most qualified people in the country to be working on our product. And so if it doesn't work here, then you can definitely go out and find others to be that complementary person. So there's sort of the basic framework there. Once you have that, then you can move on to the business plan and MVP. Have you guys ever heard of this MVP idea? The minimal viable product. I won't go much into the business plan portion of it. I figured some others might have already done so, or I'd be happy to speak with you about that later. But I cannot stress the importance of the minimal viable product. So what does that mean? That just means the simplest version of whatever you're trying to make. And what else does it mean? It means it's going to be the most unpolished, the ugliest thing. It might barely work, but that's the key here. It barely works. It's just proving your idea. So it's just the simplest thing that you can do as quickly as possible. And I really cannot stress that you need to get it done as quickly as possible. And why do we do this minimal viable product? It's so you can all of a sudden have a few users try it out, tell you what they like and what they don't like, and that way you're not wasting time building stuff that people don't want. That's the whole goal here, is only build stuff that people want. And then finally, the goal in mind is to get traction. This is something that investors say all the time. Is, tell me about your traction. And all that means is, what sort of impact is that making, and how can you sort of quantify it? So, for example, if you're some sort of application, maybe you have a couple thousand users, or 10,000 users. For myFit, for us, traction was, I need to get 3 or 5 major retailers on board. So, find out what your traction is and go out and try to go get those numbers. And so, hopefully you've done that, and then you can move on to the next part, which is then going to be some sort of investment round. If you're like me, you're a student, you probably don't have $1 million socked away to start your own tech company. So you're going to need some help doing that. So here's sort of a basic outline of how it typically works. Nothing's really set in stone, but for these smaller numbers under 100K, you're going to go to family and friends. From there, you're going to go to angel investors and then so on to venture capitalists. Venture capitalists, of course, are just professional investing companies that seek out startups and invest in them. And so you can start at $500K for a VC firm, but it might go way up to the tens of millions of dollars. So, and I will say though that investing and finding investors is probably going to be one of the most difficult things to do as an entrepreneur. What do you guys think? You think it is? Would you say it has been so far? Yes, I would definitely agree. Every time you're in one of these meetings, you're really laying yourself on the line. You're trying to prove that your idea and your concept is going to be the next big thing. And if you don't really believe in it, you're not on board, then you're really not the right match for that. So investors, really important, but it's a very difficult process. So just sort of wrapping up, now that you've done all that, you now figured out your product or solution that you think might work pretty well. Now is the really fun part. You scale and iterate. All of a sudden, you know what your consumers want. You know what your customers want. And so all you're going to do now is recruit more employees. You're going to open up your new beautiful offices and hopefully move on from startup into a great, wonderful company. And so just to sort of, as we close, then you can finally become a rock star and then be on these magazine covers with all these other folks. Now, I will say, though, that Notre Dame education really prepares you for a life in entrepreneurship. You naturally are very gifted intellectually, but you also have wonderful speaking skills and networking skills inherently, especially compared to most other schools. So take advantage of those things. Lastly, sort of my final tips. These are 3 things I really hope you take away. These are things that I wish I had known when I was a student. The first one is that you should really be starting your idea now, especially if you're still an undergrad. You have nothing to lose. The other thing is that while you are still a very cute undergrad student, people are much more willing to help you. So with that, you need to utilize ND resources, Notre Dame resources. The professors and other folks and advisors that you have access to right now are very difficult to get a hold of in the real world. So if you're to find somebody as successful as your professor or so, you would need to allot maybe a 3-month span of trying to get a hold of them and then maybe get a meeting. Here at Notre Dame, while you're a student, you can talk to your advisors and professors anytime during your office hours. So take advantage of that. The next thing, of course, utilize Notre Dame resources. It's so important. I made a few extra points for that one. And so here's a list of things that you should be really tapping into. The first one is your Go Center. They have great classes and great clubs and activities through the center that can certainly help you. The next one is Innovation Park. How many people here have been inside Innovation Park by a show of hands? Okay, so a little bit more, about roughly half of you guys. It's this amazing facility across from the hockey rink, and I cannot stress that you guys should go check it out. It's a great place to start and experiment with your company. They provide office space, sometimes almost free, and it's a great place to get started. I can't stress it enough. Legal clinics. They have both intellectual property and corporate attorney types of legal clinics here to help you get your company started. There's nothing worse than being a broke entrepreneur and having to pay legal bills. So if you can avoid them, definitely try to. The next one is if you are in one of these colleges or any of the other ones, go talk to the other one. You have to be exposing yourself. And don't be shy. And then, of course, there are other clubs on campus. And then the last one, point number 6, and probably the most important, is the Notre Dame directory. And it's that online database that many of us didn't realize existed that contains contact information for almost the entire alumni network. And so you're going to find folks in pretty much every major industry, every major company that are alumni that are willing to help you. And all you have to do is simply send them a quick email that says, I'm a current student or a recent alum, and I'm considering a startup. Here's an idea. What do you think? And that's all you got to say. And I guarantee you're going to get an amazing response rate. So those are some key things you guys should tap into. Finally, you really cannot go wrong if you follow your dream of entrepreneurship. If you really want to make an impact in the world, it's far riskier to do something else other than entrepreneurship. So I really encourage you all to give it a try, especially while you're here, students. so you can really broaden your horizons and make a tremendous impact in the world. That really sort of sums it up for me. I went ahead and made some clip notes of today's presentation on our website, myfit.co/spark. So feel free to type that in, and then you can see my presentation in addition to a bunch of other clip notes in case you want to refer them later. Or just email me, john@myfit.co. I respond within an hour usually, and so I'd be more than happy to help you as much as I possibly can. So I'll be here after the reception too. So thank you all very much.